Seriously, I don't mind. Okay. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More Toma Bina Ke Dayalu Jagata Samsare Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara Musama Patita Prabhu Napai Beara Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Balokana Koro Ami Boro Dukhi Premananda Sukhi Daya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Bale Pai Haha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Bhatta Juga Shri Jivaha Prabhu Lokhanatha Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangha Mange Narottama Dasa Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. जय श्री राधा गोवर्धन धारी भगवान की जय। जय श्री कृष्णा बलराम भगवान की जय। गिरिराज महाराज की जय। नरसिंह देव भगवान की जय। गौरानिताय भगवान की जय। श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदी। So today we'll be reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Adi Leela, Adi Leela chapter 17 verses 55 to 56. Please repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So please repeat after me verses 56, 55 and 56 from the Adi Leela of chapter 17 today. Sanyasa kariya yabe prabhu nila chale gela Tata haite yabe kulia grame aila ताबे से पापी प्रभुरा लाइला शराना हिता उपदेश कैला हाइया करुणा संन्यास करिया याबे प्रभु नीला चले गेला Tata haite yabe kulia grame aila ताबे से पापी प्रभुरा लाइला शराना हिता उपदेश कैला हाया करुणा Sannyasa Tata Haitaya Pekuya Grame Haya Karuna Sannyasa Ya Pekuya Grame Aila Tabe se pape prabhura laila sharana Hita upadesha kaila haya karuna Okay. So please repeat after me. Sannyasa Kariya. After accepting the renounced order of life. Yabe. When Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Neela Chale, in Jagannath Puri, Gela went, Tata Haite, from there, Yabe, when, Kulia, of the name Kulia, Grame, to the village, Aila, came back, Tabe, at that time, say that, Papi, sinful man, Prabhura, of the Lord, Laila, took, Sharana, shelter, Hita, beneficial, Upadesha, advice, Kaila, gave, Haya, becoming, Karuna, merciful. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When Sri Chaitanya, after accepting the renounced order of life, went to Jagannath Puri and then came back to the village of Kulia, upon his return, that sinful man took shelter at the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord, being merciful to him, gave him instructions for his benefit. Purport. So before I read the purport, I just want to say that it's a bit of a technical and geographical purport. So, so I'll later be explaining this in a bit of detail. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in his Anubhasya, has given the following note in connection with the village of Kulia. The village, originally known as Kulia, has developed into what is now the city of Navadvip. In various authorized books like Bhakti Ratnakara, Caitanya Charita Mahakavya, Caitanya Chandrodaya Nataka, and Caitanya Bhagavat, it is mentioned that the village Kulia is on the western side of the Ganges. Even now, within the area known as Koladweep, there is a place known as Kuliara Ganj and a place called Kuliara Daha, both within the jurisdiction of the present municipality of Navadvip. In the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were two villages named Kulia and Pahadapura on the western side of the Ganges, both belonging to the jurisdiction of Bahiradipa. At that time, the place on the eastern side of the Ganges, now known as Antardvip, was known as Navadvip. At Sri Mayapur, that place is still known as Dvipera Mat. There is another place of the name Kulia near Kanchadapada, but it is not the same Kulia mentioned here. It cannot be accepted as Aprada Bhanjanera Pata, or the place where the offense was excused, for that occurred in the above-mentioned Kulia on the western side of the Ganges. For business reasons, many envious persons oppose excavation of the real place, and sometimes they advertise unauthorized places as the authorized one. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay. So, today we'll be speaking on these two verses, 55 and 56, which are together from chapter 17, which is the last chapter of the Adi Leela. The chapter title is Pastimes of the Lord in His Youth, Pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in His Youth. So, right now, for those who might not have been following along, where we are up to in the story is that, just to recap really briefly, so there was this Brahman, so-called Brahman, who wasn't really very qualified according to the Brahminical qualities. His name was Gopala Chapla, and what he did is he actually offended Srivas Pandit. And he offended him quite badly, so that his reputation, trying to ruin his reputation. And Srivas Pandit didn't take offense. He just went on with his life. But this person, Gopala Chapla, he actually began to suffer leprosy. The Lord gave him a reaction, basically, because devotees of the Lord are very dear to him, and he doesn't like to see his devotees get criticized or treated badly in any way. So the Lord gave Gopala Chapla a reaction, and this reaction was that Gopala Chapla got leprosy within 3 days of his offense. And then, now what is happening, so today's verses are covering that, today's verse is covering pretty much the location where the Lord met Gopala Chapla again. And Srila Prabhupada is clarifying for us very, very clearly in this purport to these two verses. Prabhupada is clarifying to us exactly where that location is, because there can be a lot of confusion. So, what is explained here is that Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas, and he had gone to Jagannath Puri, as we know. After being in Jagannath Puri, the Lord did start to travel, and as we know, Lord Chaitanya, he traveled all over South India, and he also went to Vrindavan. So as part of his travels, he returned to Kulia, to the village of Kulia. And at that time, Gopala Chapla, he came and he took shelter at Lord Chaitanya's feet. He said, please forgive me, and I surrender to you. like that. And the Lord, he was he was initially, as we know from the story, for those who've been following along, initially Lord Chaitanya was extremely upset, and he actually cursed him, and said, you're going to suffer for 1,000,000 lifetimes, for this offense that you have done. And he wasn't in the mood to forgive him at all. Um, but again, Gopala Chapla came, and when he asked him for forgiveness at this particular location, which this location is described as Aparada Bhanjanera Pata, the place where the offense was excused. So also, the law is described that the Lord was merciful to him at this point, that the Lord became merciful to him, and he gave him instructions for his benefit. So, what we need to be clear on here is that the Lord didn't forgive him. He didn't say, I forgive you, your offense is excused completely, now you're not going to suffer anymore. He didn't say like that. What he said instead is, these are the instructions I'm giving you. And after doing this, basically, you will be freed from these reactions. So why do you think the Lord didn't? I mean, the Lord can forgive anything. He's got all potency, all power. Why didn't Lord Chaitanya forgive him? And we also know that Lord Chaitanya is the most merciful. So why do you think? I mean, all of you know already. Would you like to say? Would anyone like to say? Yes, Prabhu? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. That's a very nice answer. Prabhu said, for those who didn't hear and for those who might be listening online, that Lord Chaitanya couldn't just say, okay, you're cured, because Gopal Chapla had to do his part as well. He had to, and Prabhu said, just like a patient has to follow instructions and take medicine maybe. So in that way, Gopal Chapla had to do his part. So also, it is a, so we know that the Lord forgives everything really, except for Vaishnava offense, except for Vaishnava prad. So if there is an offense that has been committed to a devotee, what needs to happen is specific forgiveness asking from that devotee. Very specifically, the apradhi, the offender, needs to go in and seek forgiveness. This is the Vaishnava etiquette. This is the Vaishnava culture, that if there has been an offense, the offender needs to go and seek forgiveness from the person he or she has offended. And we see many, many times in the scriptures that, stories like this, that um, even when, Krishna and Vishnu, they were asked to forgive offenses, they said, no, you go back to the person that you have offended. And that we can't actually forgive this. So Vaishnava Aprad is offending a devotee is actually extremely grave, extremely serious, and the Lord doesn't forgive this until and unless the devotee who has been offended has forgiven this. And this is actually outside the scope of today's class so much. So I won't really speak on so much on the techniques of going to seek forgiveness and how, and all the details. I won't really get into that today. That's like a whole different class. But basically we need to know that if first of all, prevention, that we need to try to not offend a devotee. And that's why a lot of people are very careful. um, and then but then there needs to be a healthy way of dealing with it, rather than just like, rather than just being dismissive. There needs to be a healthy way of dealing with it. And actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written some books on this matter and explained very clearly when we can speak out, when we can, how to actually express our anger, all of those things. He has really explained nicely. First of all, prevention, even the first offense against the holy name of the Lord is to blaspheme or criticize a devotee who has dedicated their life. So we need to be very, very careful. This offense has the power to ruin all like our spiritual life completely, if we offend a devotee. Like we see, one example is Mother Sachi, like she apparently offended Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya didn't take offense because, and that's the other quality, that the devotee shouldn't really be, should try to be mature enough to not take offense. Advaita Acharya being extremely elevated, of course, he didn't take offense, but Lord Chaitanya felt hurt. Lord Chaitanya took offense on his behalf, and therefore Mother Sachi was not getting this gift of love of Godhead that everybody else was getting. And when when the devotees asked Lord Chaitanya on her behalf that she should also get, then Lord Chaitanya said no, she needs to seek forgiveness from Advaita Acharya. So this is, directly we can see that we need to be very, very careful, and this offense is very grave, offending a devotee, and that the Lord, at this point, even though he has all potency and power, we know it's one of the 6 qualities of the Lord, being the most powerful, he didn't forgive him. He said, these are the instructions, and these instructions are going to be explained in the verses covered in the next class as to what instructions he gave. So now what I want to talk about is from the purport, all these geographical details that have been given, which is important for us to understand, because why do we need to know these sorts of things? Because the name, the form, the pastimes, the dham, the qualities of the Lord, all of these things, they are simultaneously same and non-different from the Lord. And by meditating on these, we actually get purified. And when we are actually meant to think about these places and to mentally reside in the holy dhams. So for our purification, it's good for us to know. And also Prabhupada is actually going to tell us something really important in this purport. So as you might remember, when I was reading, the Kulia was mentioned many times. And just in a nutshell, so then I'll explain it in a little bit more detail. Basically, what it is that simply put, people were confused, and there was controversy, and to some extent there is still a little bit of controversy as to where the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya is, where actual Mayapur is, whether it is on the east side or the west side of the Ganges, and where actually Kulia is. So Prabhupada is just clarifying that for us very, very clearly. So this place, Kulia Gram, the village of Kulia, is basically on the eastern side of the Ganges. And that, so this village of Kulia, so we need to remember this is our baseline, that this village of Kulia is on the eastern bank of the Ganges, and that this is where, on the east side of the Ganges, is where the real Mayapur is, and this is where the temple is, the ISKCON temple is, on the east side of the Ganges. And how we know this is because very recently Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he went and he had actually identified these places, discovered these places again. And when Bhaktivinoda Thakur had discovered this, then his spiritual master, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. He was 125 years old at that time, and he had been brought along to that location, and then he had confirmed that yes, this is the right location. This is actually where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. He actually, even though he was always sitting on his palanquin, like really hunched like that, we can, yeah, then if you see the parampara photos, you'll be able to see that Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, looks very old and hunched in his photos. But then when he reached this place, where Bhaktivinoda Thakur was showing that is this the place? Is this the place that Lord Chaitanya appeared? He jumped off his palanquin and he started dancing. So, and in this way he confirmed that yes, this is the location where the actual Mayapur is, where actual Antardvip is. So, okay, so the eastern side is where the village of Kulia is, and this eastern side is where the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya is, and this is this is the place where the Aparada Bhanjanera Pata is, which is where this offense was forgiven. So what now the controversy is that so some people basically they are saying that this is on the western side, which it is not. So we need to remember it's on the eastern side, and that the fact that it is mentioned to be on this side is in all these authorized books, and the books that are mentioned are, first of all, is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's Anubhasya. This book is mentioned, and then all these other books like Bhakti Ratnakara, Caitanya Charita Mahakavya, Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka, and Chaitanya Bhagavad. These books are mentioned as having this fact that it is mentioned that this village of Kulia is on the western side of the Ganges. So just going back a step, so this Anubhasya of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is his commentary on the Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita. And he has commented on it. And Prabhupada, when he has been doing his purports to the Chaitanya Caritamrita, he's quoting quite heavily many times from Bhaktisiddhanta's Anubhasya, his spiritual master's book. So, okay. So then the whole thing is being discussed that, so back then what it was and now what it is, and that there's this area called Koladvip, and okay, so we know that Navadvip. What does the word Navadvip mean? It means 9 islands, and that Mayapur Dham is actually one location in this whole Navadvip area, and so many of you devotees here have actually lived in Navadvip for long periods of time in Mayapur. So so what it is described as is that there are 9 islands, and the tributaries of Mother Ganges, of the Ganges River, is dividing up these 9 islands. And it's described as a lotus, that it looks like a lotus, these 9 islands. And so Navadip Mandal Parikrama, for example, when devotees start doing parikrama, then it goes in a systematic way, starting from one island, going to another, and these islands are accessible by boat. Some of them you can just walk to. Okay, one of those islands is Koladvip, and that in this place there is a place known as Kulyara Ganj and Kulyara Doha, and that this is lying within the greater area of Navadvip, and that at the time of Lord Chaitanya there were 2 villages named Kulya and Pahadapura, which were on the west side of the Ganges, and they belonged to one of the 9 islands called Bahiradvip. So, and that at that time, back in Lord Chaitanya's time, around 500 years ago, that the place on the east of the Ganges, which is known as Antardvip, one of the 9 islands, that at that time of Lord Chaitanya, that Antardvip was known as Navadvip. Okay, so, and then this is what we are being told, that there is another place called Kulia, and it's near this other place called Kanchanadapad, but this is not the Kulia that is mentioned here. Uh, so the offense happened on, sorry, the actual Kulia is on the western side of the Ganges. So what's happening nowadays and what happened back then is that people were saying that Lord Chaitanya's appearance place is on the west side of the Ganges, not on the east side, basically. So the last line of this purport is, why is this happening? It's happening because of business reasons, that many people want to make money of showing a holy site, that this is actually the place where Lord Chaitanya appeared, even though it's a false site, and they're just trying to do that for the sake of making money, basically. So, um, and they're described as, for business reasons, many envious persons oppose the excavation of the real place, and sometimes they advertise unauthorized places as the authorized one. So, a few other little points that have come to mind is that, so firstly, that, the geography of the of Mayapur Navadvip area has actually changed quite a few times. The main reason for this is because of the flooding that happens with the Ganges, and especially every 100 years or so. I mean, we know there have been floods that have happened in our lifetime, but especially every 100 years or so, there's a big flood, like really big flood. And in the scriptures, it's explained that some places were here, but now they are here because of how the river bed changes and the flowing of Mother Ganges changes. So this is one thing to just keep in mind. Another thing is that in Kali Yuga, in this age that we are in, it's rife with cheating, as we know. And one of the ways that people cheat is that um, they cheat really. They just try to portray something false as being true. But one of the things that we are cautioned about is showing the deity or showing the dham and try to make money of that. We are cautioned. Prabhupada, he's had several conversations which have been noted quite nicely, and Prabhupada was very much against showing the deity to make money. So, and also showing the dham. So what that means is like doing it as a business, basically. He didn't want this at all. So, however, this is what is been explained in this purport, that people would show, different places and just basically try to make it a business, which is not the right thing to do. And what Prabhupada said about this is that, so what he said is that people who show the deity simply as business, all their puja is just going to make them go to hell, basically. So in the same way, like showing the dham, is cheating when it is not the right location that is being showed, and when it is not being done in the mood of service to help one along in their spiritual journey. Um, and to do it simply as a business is also similar. So, so another thing we know, that in Kali Yuga, the holy places are slowly going to get covered over. And it's described that the full effect of Kali Yuga won't take place until there is Mother Ganges still flowing, and Govardhana Hill still present, and Tulsi still present on earth. So until these three very holy, auspicious, elevated personalities are here on the earth planet, the full effect of Kali Yuga won't happen. However, we can see even now how strong this age of Kali Yuga is, and the effects of time, and that all these holy places are covered to some extent or the other. It might be with the material covering, it might be by people trying to cheat and showing us the wrong place as the real place. and it also might be by all the trouble that happens in these places. So we know that when there is a war, that usually it's the headquarters that's attacked to try to weaken, try to weaken everything, the enemy side. So this is one of the reasons that the main places of pilgrimage, Vrindavan and Mayapur, quite often we find things happening there. We find that this should not be happening. It's the total opposite of what should happen in a holy place. But this is basically the effect of Kali Yuga, and envious people, and so many other things. So, okay, right. Okay, so right. I think I've covered everything I want to say on the geographical details. Um, the other thing I wanted to say was that so I actually had a picture on my phone. I forgot to get my phone in today. But I had a picture showing the 9 islands of Navadvip, and each of these, like on that picture, as you've probably seen before, the different islands are colored differently. And just to be clear, because it was a little bit this way and that way, so Antardvip is on the eastern side of the Ganges, and Antardvip is one of the 9 islands. It is where the parikrama starts. So when we're doing Navdvip Mandal Parikrama, this is island 1 basically. So we go this way. And it is over here that is the Yoga Pit. That is Lord Chaitanya's birthplace, appearance place. And before starting, over here is also Lord Shiva, Kshetrapal Lord Shiva. And he's got another, there's 2 Lord Shivas here. And pilgrims are meant to come and take permission from Lord Shiva to have a successful pilgrimage and to gain entry into the Dham and then go along. So just when I was reading about Navadvip, the 9 islands, and how Mother Ganges has her tributaries separating each of these islands and how it looks like a lotus, it is Audharya Dham, which is most merciful Dham, very, very merciful. In fact, if we have never been to the Holy Dham, generally it's advised to go to Mayapur first before going to Vrindavan. And the reason for this is that Mayapur is all forgiving. Offenses won't be taken too seriously, and if you're a newbie, go here first, get used to living in the Dham or staying in the Dham or behaving in the Dham before you go to Vrindavan, where you can make a real serious offense. So Audharya Dham, very forgiving, very magnanimous. And one of the islands is, so this thing just stuck in my mind and I thought I'd share it. One of the islands of Navadvip is where the self-manifested deity of Lord Nrsingadev is. And this is also where the deity of Hari Hara is. What's the name of that island? Godruma, is it? It's not Rudra. I can't remember, sorry. But it's very close to, right now, if you're in Mayapur, we'd cross the Ganges and then we'd catch a taxi, only about 10 minutes, and then that would be where the deity of Lord Nrsingadev is. And this was the island where Lord Chaitanya manifested a big mango tree, and then he fed his 200 devotees who were there. And this deity of Lord Nrsingadev is there. He's self-manifested. And okay, so over here on the bank of, and the Ganges is very close there. You can see that there's a river flowing, and this river is described that where Lord Nrsingadev, when he killed Hiranyakashipu, he came and he washed his hands over here in this location. And right next to that place, where the river is, right next to there is a temple of Hari Hara. Hari Hara is a deity that's half black and half white. It's Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. And so he's in this deity form. And this deity, very recently, so it's like this. The Lord Vishnu's side is like this, holding a chakra in his hand, and Lord Shiva's side is the other side. So Hari and Hara. So so this deity in 1997 was stolen, and taken away by some thieves and just left somewhere. Like they just discarded the deity. And the next day, some children were playing in the area, and a fox came up to the children and tried to lead the children somewhere. So because it was unusual that a fox would come up like that, the children did follow the fox, and the fox led them to where the deity was just lying in a field. So they took the deity, and the police got involved, and the police had the deity at the police station for 4 years. They had the deity in the police station for 4 years before the deity went back to the temple and was put back in the temple, and everything got solved. So the line that struck me, the devotee who wrote that the hand of Lord Vishnu that used to hold the Sudarshan chakra had the tag, the policeman's tag on it for 4 years. The tag, you know how when you have an exhibit, you have a string tied to a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper something is written, the case number or whatever. So that was written, and it was like on Lord Vishnu's finger, like that. For 4 years in the police station, this is how the deity of Harihara stood. So I was just thinking, this is so amazing that when Krishna wants to have fun, he just, has his fun in so many different ways. Like, the other little thing that came to mind was it Sanatan Goswami who discovered? Oh yes, it was who said to our family, "Don't use the Shaligram Shilas as a nutcracker and a doorstopper, And then Madan Mohan DTS said, "You've just spoilt all my fun. I used to sit down with them and have dinner at the table with them, and now you've put me in an altar." So Krishna wants to have fun, and yeah, that's what stuck in my mind. So if there's anyone who would like to say something, I mean, some of you have lived in Mayapur, Navdvip, and today's class, so we're trying to stick to the verse numbers. We've come up with a new system of the roster, and we're sticking to these verses. So 55 and 56. It was, it was a little bit, it could have been a little bit confusing because, talking about 500 years ago and now, and then the names of the places then and now. But I think we are all clear that the main point really was that we shouldn't be gullible. We should follow what's written in the scriptures and shouldn't accept blindly, shouldn't really follow blindly. That, yes, this is the holy place. We need to do our own research and really see what the acharyas have said as to which the holy place is. And thank goodness now there's not such a big controversy. Like now it's pretty clear. This is Yoga Pit. This is where the deities of Mother Sachi and Jagannath Mishra, they're holding baby Nimai. And this is where the place of appearance is. And this is Kulia, where the offense was forgiven. Okay. And the other important point was, of course, Lord Chaitanya just giving instructions as a well-wisher, but not forgiving the offense, and that Vaishnava aparad cannot be forgiven unless it is forgiven by the person who has been offended. Okay.
Thank you very much for the class. I just wanted to share with, by the extreme mercy of Harihara, I got to bathe them. We had a big ceremony many years ago, and Janani Vas was performing the Abhishek, and some devotees were coming up, and Janani Vas spotted me in the crowd, and he called me up, and I got to bathe Harihara. Very, very beautiful deities. They're really amazing.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. Very, very nice piece of mercy you got. That's amazing.
Thank you for the class, Mati. I always wonder why Prabhupada would take so much trouble in putting all those details. I mean, that purport is not that extensive, But there are other places, he says, you take this train and get down here and take that bus and then get down and walk these many miles. But now that I'm not living in Mayapur, because, you know, sometimes when you are in the Holy Dham, you take things for granted. Now that I'm not living in Mayapur, then I think I got a bit of a realization that Prabhupada wrote those things, so we go there and we visit those places. Like was Bhaktisiddhanta's order. He wanted us to go do Navadvip Mandal Parikram. So we get purified, because that's a process. And as you mentioned earlier, the name, the form, the leelas, that happens somewhere, and happens somewhere specifically. I mean, one may say, oh, what's the difference? You know, here or there, it's all good. It's all the same. The Acharyas took the trouble to find out. Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he read the maps from the British explorers, and then he compared, and then he asked the sadhus, and then when you describe Jagannath Das Babaji. So it is important to go to those places and walk there and pay obeisance. So thank you for...
Yes, Prabhu, thank you very, very much for that. I mean, you're absolutely right. We do take it for granted. Myself, I have to say, I've gone to Mayapur maybe twice, but generally I tend to go almost every year, once or twice, to Vrindavan, Govardhana area. And after reading this, I felt this huge, intense urge to go to Mayapur. And it's true that sometimes also we think, why should we go? We can go there mentally. But this physically, if we take the time and the trouble, because it is, going to India is not as easy as going on pilgrimage. It's not as easy as just buying a train ticket or a plane ticket and just jumping off and, you know, just doing another tourist thing over there. It's actually intense, and, you know, India is intense, as we all know. But to take the time and trouble to actually go physically and do pilgrimage and visit all these holy places, it purifies us so much so, and it also gives us these samskaras, these impressions that then we can remember, and that is what we need to be thinking of, you know, when we leave this body. So all of these impressions, they make a big difference to our spiritual evolution and progress. So if we can go physically, we should. But of course, if we can't, then we have these beautiful scriptures and books with very big details as to the train station and taking the left or the right turn, and even the opening times of the temple is given in this purport. So, you know, we can see the mercy of Prabhupada coming through this way as to how, you know, much mercy he was giving us and really holding our hand.
What?
I wonder, before Srila Prabhupada went to America, I wonder if he actually had gone to those places. I hadn't heard, but they're so detailed that I wonder, you know, when he was travelling as a young businessman with his businesses, whether he actually had gone there, because it's incredibly detailed.
The Anubhasi, or what, you know, what.
Yeah.
The other thing that also you were mentioning about in Kali Yuga, right, the effect. I remember hearing Dinabandhu Prabhu in one of his parikrams long time back in the 80s. He explained, and he was quoting, you know, in those days, not many books were accessible and like that, you know. So he was quoting some Shastra, and he was saying that every holy dham will disappear. And he said that Vrindavan will disappear, and that only the dust of Vrindavan will remain, and the grass. And he was describing that the gopis' tears will be just like moving like that, like, oh, Krishna is gone, because the Vrindavan will disappear. But Mayapur will shine through in this age. And he was quoting also that Mayapur will shine, but Vrindavan. But sometimes I wonder if that will happen just like that, or how. I mean, I don't know, but I remember clearly stuck. And then, as you said, sometimes when you hear things, and then for us, Mayapur is home. Dinabandhu Prabhu. But I think that needs a bit more of a research of exactly what will happen.
Yeah. Well, we are lucky that we are here now and that the dhams are still there for us to take a benefit from. But even in my lifetime, I can see from, when I was younger to now, how things are changing so quickly. And also one of the things I was reading yesterday, because I was reading about Kali Yuga and the effects of it, is, in Canto 12, it's described the effect of Kali Yuga and everything that's going to happen. And that people will only be alive for 50 years at a time and be very short and all of that. So, Mayapur Dham ki jai, Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gauranitai Bhagwan ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.